My name is Heather Drolet. I'm a technology integrator in Concord, and I work at the Christa McAuliffe School, which is a K-5 elementary school. We have about 425 students, and we have a one-to-one environment with iPads and Chromebooks this year, although I'm not there this year. So this year I was the recipient of the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation Sabbatical, named after Christa McAuliffe. And so my goal for this year is to travel the state and do computer science with kids. So I'm actually taking this year as a leave of absence in Concord, and I get to go to a bunch of different elementary schools across New Hampshire, and it's been a blast so far. My initiative has 3 parts, and so you're here for one of those parts today, but I just kind of wanted to explain the other 2. The first thing that I'm doing is I'm visiting 5th grade classrooms and working with the teachers in those classrooms to have the kids develop an app related to the content that they're studying at the time that I visit them. So I spend a week in every 5th grade class, and I work with them using Thunkable to develop a mobile app. We've done a proton escape app where the protons have escaped the nucleus and you have to tap on them to get them back in to the right number of protons that belong in that particular atom. We've done a s'mores fraction app, which requires some fraction division. Like if you had a certain number of chocolate bars, how many s'mores can you make? A little calculator app. So we've done that kind of thing across 5th grade so far, and it's been really, really fun. The second piece of my initiative is Confident Coders curriculum, so that's what I have written and I want to share with you today. Basically, it is an after-school or recess club type program for girls and more. That is kind of an inspiring curriculum for girls and others to be confident when they are coding. Thirdly, I am doing professional development, so I've been at a lot of conferences and workshops and things like that so that people can learn more about what I'm doing and learn how to integrate some of the coding stuff that I've been doing into their own classrooms. So my goal is to inspire more girls to engage in computer science, and this slide just says why. I think there's a lot of talk already. There have been some presentations on the gender gap or the gender inequity in computer science. There's some statistics here. 11.8% of students who took the AP Computer Science A exam were female in 2015. That's a sad number. And we also know that we need to engage girls earlier if we want to change that number. High school's not the time to say, hey, you might be interested in this. We need to start that a lot sooner, which is why I'm passionate about the elementary piece. These are some statistics from the National Council for Women in Technology. Technology is everywhere, but where are the girls? So technology increasingly permeates every aspect of society and provides the foundation for most modern innovation, but girls and women are avid users. Over 50% of purchases are made by females in the United States. I think it's closer to like 59%. But they're significantly underrepresented in the creation of technology. So with girls and women being avid users and purchasers of technology, they're not nearly close to average, or 50% of the people who are creating it. Girls' lack of participation in this important and growing area has serious consequences, not only for them, but for the future of technical innovation. So it's kind of a big picture thing that I'm doing. I love working with the kids, but I'm trying to change the landscape of computer science down the road as well. So that's why I'm doing this. So to give you a little bit of background, I started a girls coding club in Concord 2 years ago with 4th grade girls using code.org and our iPads, and we just met during recess, and I started to notice that they needed more than just the tool that we were using. So we were using code.org and some other sites that were interesting to them at the time. But I heard a lot of like, this is hard, I can't do this, or I don't think I want to do this today. I heard a lot of like, not so sure about this comments from them. And I decided that I needed to do more around confidence building. Like, you can do this, you are capable of doing this, you belong here. And once I started doing that, the interest spiked. And so I talked to them at the end of their 5th grade year, this was just last year, and asked them, why should everyone learn coding? Why is it an important skill? Why do you think coding would be good for everyone to learn? I'm going to play this video. It's really quiet, so listen carefully, and I'll try to translate for those of you that don't hear what they say. I have it turned up as much as I can, but That's really quiet. I can't even hear it. I'm going to tell you what she says. That's Sophie. And she's saying that coding is helpful in everyday life. For example, if you go to the grocery store and you have a bunch of things you need to buy, you're going through a list in your head and you're checking things off and you're making sure that you're doing it efficiently. You're going to the produce section first and then you're going to the dairy section last because it's refrigerated, and that's an if-then clause. Like she connected what we do in everyday life to the way that you think when you're coding, the computational thinking that we do. So she and another girl actually talks about how lots of different aspects of your life depend on your ability to organize information. And so these girls are 10 and 11, and they're noticing that it's really important that they learn how to do this for their regular daily life, not just their career. The second question I asked them is why is it good to have a girls-only club? That's Diamond. She's a little louder. I thought maybe you'd be able to hear that, but she's saying, you know how sometimes boys can say things that put you down? Well, girls tend to lift each other up. That's like what she says in there. And so she's acknowledging that when there are boys in the room, she's a little quieter. She's a little less likely to say, I think I know how to answer that, because she doesn't want to hear from the boys, well, why would you do it that way? Or whatever. These are her experiences, and those are her honest assessments of a classroom with boys in it. And so these girls have said it's actually been really beneficial to have all girls because we've become a tribe. And at the end of the video, I think Sophie's the one that says, plus you don't hear the word bro as much, which was funny to me. But so they're noticing that they are almost different people depending on who's in the room with them, and they get a little bit more of a chance to be brave and speak up when it's all girls. This may not be the case for every school. You have to know your kids. I will say that for me, why did I choose to do a girls-only coding club? I had been working with our elementary school students using Project Lead the Way and doing some of the computer science modules that they have. And to kind of open that concept up, I would ask the kids in a classroom full of boys and girls, I would say, if you could make any kind of app, what kind of app would you make? And the girls were more likely to say things like, well, my sister has diabetes, and I want to make an app to help her keep track of her blood sugars. Or my grandmother is getting Alzheimer's, and I want her to remember me, so if I could make an app that has all of our pictures with our names, that would be really cool. They tended to gravitate toward apps that could help other people. And it was just their nature. And developmentally, they're thinking about community and friendship, and that's where they are in 5th grade. The boys tended to be like, I'd make a Flappy Bird app, I'd make a Minecraft app, and that's totally fine too. But it's different. It's a different audience. And so to do a targeted club like this, I felt like I could speak to the girls better because they were kind of ready for purpose in their app. Not just learning the technology behind it, but kind of a vision. So I did do a girls-only coding club, and I didn't really get any pushback at all about the fact that it was just girls. And I'd like to share some of the feedback that I've gotten so far before I show you the actual program. So she has learned so much about coding. This is a mother that wrote this, which is a real area of interest for her. Beyond that, and probably more important, she has felt a real sense of empowerment around coding and math, and that girls should feel no limitation in exploring those types of activities or careers. It has been a really wonderful program, and one of her favorite things she has done. Heather's excitement and care for the girls is evident in seeing her interact. We presented to the board, the school board, and they thought that was really cool. It really did boost their confidence to be like, we know more than the adults in the room. My daughter is more tech savvy, has increased interest in technology. My daughter is empowered through her time and work with Christa's Coders. That's what we call our club because we're at Christa McAuliffe School. She is challenged and excited by the projects that are done. Christa's Coders has also been a wonderful small community within the larger school community, giving its students a true sense of place and belonging. And I've seen with my girls that, some of them were not friends before. They were kind of in a different socioeconomic status or a different group altogether. But when you give them that one thing in common, they tend to produce those friendships. She finds it interesting. She gets to bond with the other girls. She loves it so much, she has changed her mind about her college goals because of it. Not that it won't change more times before she's ready, but I'm so glad she's found something she loves. She looks forward to it every time. And then this is the student feedback, which I think is even more valuable than the parent feedback. What have you learned? I have gotten more confident and less shy. For a 5th grade girl to be okay with saying that is pretty powerful. I actually understand coding, including Blockly. I am a lot better at figuring things out now. I think I have achieved a lot of goals and solved lots of problems. And I think I have changed because I can do so much more in coding and I know more about solving problems. Notice it's not just the computer science talk, it's also figuring things out and solving problems in other aspects of their life as well. Now, what advice would you have for others? So I asked them this question, they wrote these down anonymously. I wanted to know, what do I tell the next crew of girls as these girls were going off to middle school and I won't see them? What should I tell the next crew? Never give up, just keep on trying. Don't push yourselves, I did that. It's better to go at your own current, not the rivers. That's my Bella. She's very philosophical. If you need help, ask for it. I would like to give them the knowledge of that coding is not easy. It is not something that you get in the first day. I would say that hard work and open minds is required. Even advanced coders make mistakes. Actually, that is the whole art of coding, recognizing that you made a mistake and then you fix it. I mean, that's something that we try to teach our kids, right? Fail forward. Like, we want you to make a mistake. This is exciting when you make a mistake because we can all work together to figure it out and fail forward. It's one of our favorite phrases. I would tell them they should always believe in themselves no matter how hard it is not to. I would tell them to make whatever they want and to be creative about their work. Plus, don't give up. Keep trying. Excuse me. Do your best and fail forward. Have fun, be happy, make new friends, and code. In all caps, of course. And this is Amani. She wore that shirt the first day of coding, and it says, "Girls can do anything." I was like, we need to take a picture. They're so proud. This is our vision board. I'm going to talk more about this in a little bit, but this is what we collaboratively came up with when we talk about in the second coding lesson, which is to make a vision or to have a vision. We make a collaborative vision board and we kind of leave that up and we say the whole time, during the whole time that we're doing the club, let's make sure that what you're doing today is going to help you toward that vision that you have for yourself in coding. And so we've got lots of different things represented up there. We have girls that want to become doctors. We have girls that want to work for NASA. We've got one girl wants to raise canaries and make a website so she can sell her canaries. So it's totally different interests, but all kind of united through this concept of coding and how you can make something and change the world because of it. So the way that I designed this program, it's basically kind of like Girls on the Run, if you're familiar with that. It's kind of like an extracurricular, kind of a confidence boosting curriculum. I do not have any coding specifically within the program. We use outside programs as part of it. So the curriculum that I've written is more of like a empowering thing. I'll show you so you get a better picture of this. But we've used all of these examples up here. So Scratch, Khan Academy, Thunkable, Hopscotch Code, Made with Code. Also Dash and Dot, robotics, Vex IQ. We've used a lot of different things. We started off with code.org and worked through the different progressions. Are you familiar with code.org? Probably, yes, right? So it's awesome because they can work at their own pace, but at a certain point, they kind of outgrow it. They kind of need more of a challenge. They don't need the videos telling them what to do every step of the way. They're like, but I want to make something now. Like, I can follow directions all day long, but I want to do my own thing. And so I was able to, since they had that background with me in 4th grade, when they were in 5th grade, I really let them do whatever they wanted. So some of them were really into making apps. So they started with Thunkable. And that's the program that I'm using with the 5th graders this year during my sabbatical. It's an awesome program. You need a browser window and either an Android or an iOS device. So you build your program in the browser window and you scan a QR code to put it onto your mobile device. It's a really cool program. It lets the kids do whatever they want. And there's a lot of tutorials available on YouTube for that as well. I had a lot of girls want to use Scratch for kind of artistic stuff. They made some games in there for the Warriors series. I don't know if you're familiar with the Warriors book series, but they made this whole like world in Scratch where you went to different levels and stuff. That was pretty cool. So there are a ton of different options for the coding piece of this curriculum. It's whatever works best for the kids that you have in your building. So to view it, and you're more than welcome to go to this website and look at it. I'm going to go through each of the lessons with you so you can get a kind of big picture view of what this is. It's at nhkidscode.com. That's my website for this sabbatical year that I'm doing. And it's /confident-coders, but you could just go to nhkids.com and click on Confident Coders. I'll give you a second to do that. I see some people taking pictures so that you can grab that website. It's just nhkidscode.com. So I'm going to click on that, and it should bring us right to the spot where you can download the curriculum. The tutorials link that I have up there, that is for the Thunkable tutorials that I've been doing with the 5th graders. So you could also have them, the girls in a club, do those as well. So this is Coco over here on the side. She is the mascot of the program, and there are 8 sessions total. What happens is Coco gets a new accessory every week. And so that accessory is kind of symbolized through the lesson somehow. We'll talk about that. And there are some questions and answers I put underneath here, just if people have concerns, particularly about how to actually run it. I would recommend 8 different sessions, an hour for each session, but I haven't been able to do it that way because of scheduling. Mine runs during recess. Our recess is a 20-minute chunk, so I do 3 days in a row. So it's like the first 20 minutes is the lesson, and the second 2 days are the actual coding. But I think it would work best if you had like an hour chunk, but it's flexible enough to do either way. And then what coding platform should you use? Completely up to you and your kids and what you have available for devices. And inside the facilitator guide, I have a little chart that's like which one's free, which devices, kind of like a pros and cons list. Do you need to know how to code? Absolutely not. There are so many tools out there. Your job for this program is more of like a confidence mentor. That's what I like to call it. And then can boys participate? Yeah, 100% they can. There's nothing about this program that is only girls. I happen to do it with only girls, and I happen to write it with girls in mind, but there's nothing that could stop you from doing it with younger students, older students, boys, girls, whatever. It's adaptable to your needs. So I'm going to go ahead and open it. There are 2 things here. There's the student workbook and then the facilitator guide. I'm going to go through the student workbook. The facilitator guide has extras. So for each lesson, I put in some extension activities. So if you have extra time, for example, we talk about wearing your smart, and we talk about different t-shirts in the first lesson. Well, one of the extension activities is that the girls could make their own t-shirts. They could bring in a white t-shirt and you could have them go to town on those, right? It'd be even cooler if you could use some copper tape and some LED lights and stuff and really, really go to town on those t-shirts. So that's an extension idea. I also have included in each lesson a mini playlist of like girl power songs that are kind of related to the topic for that day. So those are in there as well, just to kind of inspire you. So I'm just going to go through each of the lessons and kind of walk you through the goal for each lesson. The first one is wear your smart. And so Coco has a t-shirt that says I code because I care. We talk about what for example, the t-shirts that you see in the store and what kind of messages those send. And then we talk symbolically about what it means to wear your smart. Like, you're not necessarily wearing a shirt that says I'm super smart, but you're confident in the classroom. You're saying, okay, even if I don't know this, I can raise my hand and ask for help. It's okay. And then it's okay to raise my hand and say, I know how to do that. I can help you. Not to hide that confidence piece. So we talk about wearing our smart, and then we look at super smart versus superficial shirts, and we kind of compare them. And then they design a shirt that kind of says why they want to code. And so I have a blank page in there. But obviously an extension activity would be really cool to have them really make shirts. I tried to make the lessons as budget friendly as possible, and then give extension ideas that if you had some funding, you could do some more cool stuff. And at the end of every lesson is this kind of wrap up where you have like a discussion. Basically, you kind of intro the lesson. It's like a 15 to 20 minute discussion, and then they code for like half an hour using whatever platform that you want, and then you wrap it up with a conclusion. So that's the kind of what ideally a session would look like. The second session is have a vision. So did you notice she got a pair of glasses? She's got glasses now, and we talk about having a vision. And this is where they make the collaborative vision board. So you just cut up a bunch of magazine pictures or print them out or whatever and throw it all kind of all over the place and say, all right, girls, we've got to make a vision for ourselves. Contribute on these index cards with these pictures or whatever. What is your vision for coding? Why are you here? What do you want from this? What do you want from your life? You have them have those conversations and kind of get to work. And then the third is she got some flip-flops, and we talk about flipping your flops, and this is where we celebrate mistakes. This little blue box says, can you guess which of the following inventions were created because of a mistake? Slinky, potato chips, chocolate chip cookies, silly putty, cornflakes, and the microwave. And it happens to be all of those things. So the girls will be thinking about it, right? Like which one of those was created by mistake? Well, all of them were. And to show them that like mistakes are good, we learn from them. Sometimes they can surprise us and actually be a good thing. So then we do an activity called Find a Flop, which I don't know if you've ever played that game where everybody takes off one shoe and then you throw it into the middle of the room and then you try to find you pick a shoe and find that person. Just a way to pair them up. But then they talk about mistakes that they've made. And if kids aren't willing to share those, you can help them out and give them some of the mistakes that you've made, because we certainly have all made mistakes, right? And then we just have a conversation about what it means to make a mistake. The fourth lesson, she gets a cell phone, give and get help. So we talk about the importance of asking for help when you need it. And for this activity, we do a Mad Libs. So they are doing, supplying adjectives, nouns, and verbs, and then plugging them into a story where Coco needs help and she gets it from a friend. Basically, the story is she got this new robot and she can't figure out how to work it. And she's like, well, maybe I should ask my friend for help because she has the same one, but she was a little embarrassed to do that. And then she figures out that it would just be easier if she just asked for help. So that's kind of the message that lesson sends. And then she gets some headphones, which are very noticeable, to block out negative self-talk. This is something that girls struggle with no matter what age they are. We struggle with negative self-talk all the way up into our 80s and 90s, right? And just teaching the girls that those messages that you hear in your head that say you can't do this, you need to block those bad boys out. We've got an activity here that's called the 10-second rephrase. And so there are some examples. For example, the situation is asking to borrow something from a friend. The negative self-talk might be like, they're going to say no anyway. Like, I'm not going to even try to ask. Well, instead of that, you have 10 seconds to rephrase that into something positive. Like, well, you never know. If I offer to let them borrow something, maybe they'll let me borrow something, right? So to get them to think and switch around that negative self-talk into something positive. And then lesson 6 is grow your toolkit. By about the 6th week or 6th session of this program, they're going to be tired of whatever program you put in front of them. They're probably going to hit a point where they're like, okay, I'm good with code.org. I get it now. And so this lesson is about finding extra tools and challenging yourself, essentially, to find something else to push toward or find a new project to work on. And I like to throw a bunch of school supplies on the floor and say, which one is you in coding? Which one of these represents you? For example, if you're the glue stick, are you sticking with problems? Are you good at doing that? Do you need to start writing some code yourself, like writing the JavaScript out instead of just using the blocks now? Are you ready to move on and find something in like Khan Academy or something? So we talk about kind of stretching ourselves and growing our toolkit. All right, and then we have lesson 7, which is thinking outside the box. So we talk about Coco having an allergy to cats and dogs, and so she has to think outside the box, and she gets a chameleon as a pet. And that's something that she's not allergic to, so she really wanted a pet, but she had to think outside the box to get there. And so we talk about a little bit of fun facts about chameleons, because they're kind of fun. But also, we challenge them to think outside the box. Have you seen this before? This is where you have to draw 4 lines that go through all the circles without lifting your pencil. Does anybody know what that solution is? So you have to do at least 4 lines or less and go through all of the circles, but you can't lift up your pen at all. And the lines have to be straight. Can you visualize it? You have to go outside the box. Yes, very good. Right, is that what you're going to say? You have to go, yeah, you have to go outside the box. So if I go up here, and you go like, if you start here, no, I did it wrong. You start here. I did that wrong too. There we go. There, I did it. So there's four lines, but you go literally outside the box. It will take them forever to come up with that, which is a good thing. It's a nice challenge for them. And then they're like, oh, I get it. I literally had to go outside the box. So it's kind of a neat activity to get them to think, like, you know, when they're stuck in a coding challenge, like, back it up, think about how else could I approach this. And then the last thing is she gets it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but she gets a friendship bracelet. And we talk about community counts. So by this point in the program, they've built a pretty strong relationship with one another. They are a community, they are a tribe. It's been 8 lessons, or they've been working together longer than that. And we talk about how important community is and friendships are. Good friends help you to find important things when you have lost them, your smile, your hope, and your courage. And they really do need each other, and they do rely on each other. I don't know if you've ever been in a room full of 20 5th grade girls, but it can get pretty fun and silly and loud. They really become like a tribe, and they really have a lot of fun together. So the last activity is to create a community friendship bracelet. So they fill out strips of paper, and they talk about a friendship example or what they appreciated about their friends in coding club, and then you connect them all into a giant friendship bracelet. And then an extension activity for this would be to make friendship bracelets for each other and just kind of have some time to celebrate that. And by then, I did 8 sessions because I literally couldn't think of any other accessory that would fit on this poor girl because she's pretty weighed down with stuff. But I think 8 sessions is a good amount for this kind of thing, and there's also a certificate that you can give them at the end of the program. So that is the end of what the kids see. I can show you too the facilitator guide. I'm not going to go through the whole thing for you, but I'll just show you the structure of it so you're aware of what's inside there. Like I said, in each lesson I put extension ideas and a playlist as something that's kind of extra. But at the beginning of this facilitator guide too, I have some of those frequently asked questions, and I also have that chart, so I want to show you that chart. So here's the facilitator guide. It gives a little bit of background information about why and how I created it. Here's frequently asked questions, which are the same ones from the website. And then this is what I was talking about, the different platforms that you can use. So the ones I've listed here are Code.org, Scratch, Tinker, Khan Academy, Hopscotch, and Thunkable. Most of them are free except for Tinker. The reason I include that is because if you already have a subscription to something like that, use it. Like, you totally can use that for that 30 minutes of coding during the club. And then I also recommend going to, there's a link that goes to Common Sense Media that has some more that you can look at if you want as well. And then I have a permission form. I have 2 different permission forms, one that says girls and one that says any child, so that you can just send those home and get permission from parents, regardless of whether you're going to hold it after school or during school. Particularly be careful if you're going to be creating any accounts for kids, like on code.org. I always get parental permission first, just so that the parents know what their kids are doing online, because they'll go home and work on it too, so you want the parents to know what's happening. And then I just have like a 1-pager for each of the lessons that talk about how, like, what steps you as the teacher do, and the extension ideas and the power playlist. So that's it. That's all I wanted to show you. I'm more than willing to answer any questions that you have about the program or about what I've done with the girls or about coding in elementary school in general. Sure.
So if you're doing it as an hour session instead of 3 20-minute sessions, which sounds hard, but
yeah.
about how much time do you spend on the activities and how much do you spend on coding?
Sure. So the activities are about 20 minutes, I would say. By the time you get the girls in and settled, which can take a while in and of itself because it's like, girls, okay, calm down. Yeah, so I would say about 20 minutes for that intro. Like think of the Mad Libs activity, right? So you bring them in, you talk about, whatever the concept is, and then you have them, fill in the adjectives and nouns, and then you read the silly story, and then you say, keep this in mind, it's okay to ask for help. As you're coding today, everybody's thinking about asking for help. And then during that next half an hour or so, 40 minutes of coding, you're highlighting it. You're being like, whoa, I love how Julie just was like asking for help from her neighbor. That showed that she's a confident coder. So you're pointing out the concept throughout that time. But yeah, I would say 20 minutes for the lesson, 15 to 20, and then 30 to 40 for the actual coding, and then you come back for just a 5-minute closure kind of thing.
And you might use any one of those programs. There's not.
Yep, I have used the gamut. There's also a really cool website called eraseallkittens.com. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's basically the internet has been taken over by kitten gifs, and you have to kind of get rid of them all, and it's hilarious, and the kids love it, eraseallkittens.com. The first level is free, and I don't know if they've started charging for the next levels or not, but even just that first level, they actually have to write some code to like extend bridges and stuff that the little cat has to jump over. It's kind of a fun resource to get them started anyway in coding, but yeah, I use any of those resources. Sure.
So you said it's ideal for like recess after school, but would you do it with a classroom?
You absolutely could do it with a classroom. The reason I do it during recess or after school, or I recommend it, is because there's literally no time in my teacher's day to fit it in and to justify it. At least the way it is at my school, it would be really hard to be like, we're going to take an hour of your time. So I have to just like grab time where I can find it. And also it makes it so that more people can participate. If it's like an after school thing, it's not just one teacher over another. But that's not to say you couldn't do it in the classroom. If you've got the time, go for it.
Just thinking for specials, but try that no special day to bring something.
Yeah, bring something in.
If we do Tinker Days and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said, it's totally, there's nothing in here that's like, no, boys aren't allowed. Like there's nothing in there that says boys can't do this, but it's just really friendly for girls. That's all, yeah. Any other questions?
25 schools that you're going to
Yeah,
visit? Are they
yeah.
already all scheduled?
Yeah, I am like
Come
booked
to
solid.
Alton?
Oh, I would love to come to Alton.
What about year 2 of your sabbatical?
Yeah, so that's the thing. I'm like, can I sign up for another year of this? Like, I don't think they'll let me do it. But yeah, I'm going to Bradford on Friday, Sunapee next week, Belmont the week after that. Just kind of, yeah, it is very cool. But I will say that like my tutorials are available on my website so that anybody, any tech integrator or ambitious teacher could take on that project for 5th grade or 4th or 6th. I mean, it's kind of I have them aligned to 5th grade standards, so it's kind of ideal for 5th grade, but yeah.
What do you do when you go to school?
When I go to the schools on my sabbatical, I spend 4 days, an hour a day. I typically meet with all the 5th grade classes in that school, so there's 2 or 3 that I meet with. And I spend an hour in each class, and we do 4 different days of coding the app. And then on the 5th day, we have what we call a family showcase. So the parents come in and they play the app, and then we email the app home so they can put it on their device at home as well.
And that's Thunkable.
Thunkable, yeah. It's awesome. Thunkable is really, it's a great organization. They're really open to working with teachers, and they've been awesome. If you follow them on Twitter, they kind of like are really into using Thunkable in schools. It's basically MIT App Inventor, but it's kind of prettier and easier to use, in my opinion. But yeah. Any other questions? Feel free to email me. My email is hdrolet, HDROLET, @sau8.org. And I'm still using that email even though I'm on sabbatical this year. It's the one I'm using to contact people. But
Can you repeat that one more time?
sure, HDROLET @sau8.org. And my girls will be here tomorrow. I'm not there this year, but my program assistant is still doing Confident Coders with them this year. They will be here tomorrow in the student showcase, so if you are here, make sure you stop by. They would love to brag about the apps that they've written in Thunkable and the robots that they've programmed and whatever else. So,
Do they include after the evening? Do they have an opportunity to go?
into the middle school?
No, in the 5th grade, like if you do it for, what age?
Yep, I did it. I started with them in 4th grade, and then I continued with them into 5th grade. It's just when they go to middle school, I'm like, good luck. Off you go. Yeah.
We're very good about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a lot of, at least there's like a tech ed special, right, that does some coding and things like that. And I've given them this foundation where they can go in and be like, I know how to do this. You know, so at least hopefully they have some confidence there. But the reason I chose the elementary is because Girls Who Code is a fantastic organization, but they start in 6th grade. And I kind of feel like 6th grade is just a little bit too late to catch those girls. I feel like they're already starting to buy into all the social stuff in 6th grade, and it might just be a little too late. So I wanted to grab them earlier and get them hooked. Yeah?
So for the Funkable, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Do you think like 3rd grade's too young?
No.
Okay.
My daughter's in 3rd grade, and she wrote an app called What Should I Wear Today? And so the app is like, is it sunny or is it cloudy? And so you tap, and then the next page is like, if it's warm, you wear this. If it's, right, like you should wear some shorts. Yeah, and I didn't, honestly, she's pretty bright, but of course I'm going to say that because she's my daughter. But I didn't help her with it at all.
Okay.
I just showed her how to add a new screen and how to insert a picture, and then off she went. So, yeah, it's definitely doable. Any other questions? Well, thank you for coming. Oh, sorry.
Do you recommend Funkable for middle school level?
Oh, 100%. I recommend Thunkable from probably 3rd grade all the way to 12th grade. There's so much flexibility, and they can literally make any app they could dream of. It has iOS and Android. It's really cool. I would definitely check it out. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Spread the word. Email this stuff to all the schools. It's free, and I want a lot of girls to benefit from this. Did you have a question?
Funkable or
Thunkable. T-H-U-N. Like thinkable, but past tense. Like.
Deaf person said on their own side.
Yeah.